getting bigger and bigger by the day due to various reasons that are mentioned on the slide, whether it is on account of budget, globalization, the legacy systems pulling us back and so on. But fortunately for us, we have in the on the horizon a lot of tools and technologies that are available which come to our rescue to handle more with less, so to say. When we talk of governance, this applies to urban governance as well as governance in general. This is the UN definition of good governance, which has so many nice things to have in governance. And different projects try to seek different objectives out of this. Now let me talk about e-government a little bit, and this is my favorite quote. I keep saying e-government is not about e, but about government. We have to introspect as people who are governing as to what are the things, how is the government going, what are the priorities, and then putting an E to that makes sense. Otherwise, adding E to everything has become fashion of the day and doesn't make a difference at all. And similarly, it's not about translating process but transforming processes. If you take an old process, old form and push it nicely into computer, nothing different will happen. So transformation is at the base of e-government. That is the entire philosophy behind e-governance is transformation. If you are not able to change anything in the world outside, then better not do it. And this is a very simple and simplistic kind of interpretation of, how do you spot where to transform, when to transform. So there are certain external symptoms which are visible to the citizens, awkwardly visible to the citizens. There are certain internal symptoms. I will quote the very example of Hyderabad in terms of e-governance. I used to be a secretary here and travel often back to Hyderabad by train, which arrives early in the morning in Secunderabad. When you get out of this train and go on the road, you see people at 6 a.m. standing in queue for a passport. And the queue spills onto the road and so on. They have to wait till about noon or 1 p.m. till they get their turn. So it made me think, this is one of the things I said, the long queues, human suffering there. So now today, I will show at the end of the presentation, a few slides later, what is the difference it made. We implemented the Passport Seva project, which is really abolished all the queues. You can choose your time and go there and get your job done in 45 minutes flat. So that's what I mean. There are symptoms, if we as citizens or as civil servants, we empathize with the citizens, a lot of good things can happen. And the transformation agenda can be big. I don't want to go into detail again, except to show that it's a big agenda, transformation agenda. It starts with the top. Clean the top first, the political part of it, then the government-citizen relationship. In these days of social media, etc., we need to have a different understanding of the relationship between the citizen and the government. And similarly, within the government itself, legal systems, the civil service, and the service delivery itself needs to be transformed. So it's a very, very big agenda, the transformation itself. So in this context, if you can just see, there are 4 aspects to it. We always feel that technology is the main thing, it's the driver, but I always believe that technology is the least thing to be worried about. It is the people side, the process side. The technology, of course, is got to be there, and then the resource, the model, implement a sustainable model that drives this product, that underlies these projects. Is it self-financing? Will it survive? Some of the projects which are started, if you don't provide for the resources, they just die in no time. So these four, and on each again you can architect a lot of those small boxes, which again I don't want to go into, but just to show the enormity and the complexity of making a successful e-government project. So this is, I would say a word about enterprise architecture here. At this point in technology, previously, we are at it, Subhash probably, and I must have been at this job for 25 years, 30 years now on e-government related jobs. So today, previously we were doing small projects, isolated projects, but today we have to come to think of government as an enterprise, or a metropolis body also as an enterprise of enterprises. In the comparable to a civic kind of a commercial enterprise, we have to work like that and design and adopt an enterprise architecture. So we are going to, today's technology fortunately permits that kind of a big thinking. So a word about innovation, in governance, people keep talking about innovation all the time. Recently we got out in Andhra Pradesh, in the state of Andhra Pradesh, an innovation policy also. Apart from IT and electronics policy, one policy on innovation, which is there on the website. But innovation in governance, is there a scope, is there a need? Is it an oxymoron? Is it a kind of a wrong thing to do? But there is a lot of scope for innovation in governance, whether it is in services, providing services, development, development of any project, any infrastructure, for instance, or strategies, different kind of strategies, business models, not the conventional business models, but out of the box models, and then the governance models themselves. So this is a list. I don't want again to go into details, but there is detail for each one of those. How can you innovate in services? By creating 24/7, etc. The latest concept I have come up with is serviceless service. Meaning that we create avoidable work and call it a service. Other day I was in Kerala. I went to a kiosk. I saw a small girl who was 10th plus, in plus 2. She was holding a bunch of papers in her hand, and I asked her, what did you come here for? And what are these papers? And she said, I got this from this counter. Bunch of papers about a caste certificate, income certificate, nativity. Then what are you going to do with these certificates? I just got them from this counter, and I am going to hand over to the other counter to get my scholarship. Then I said, is there something wrong basically with this? You're taking from here and giving it there. Yes, sir, there is something wrong with this. If those two guys shake hands themselves, I don't have to bother for this, applying for this scholarship. So you could as well abolish so many certificates. That is what I meant by serviceless service. What we call it as a service today is a disservice to the people actually, and fit to be abolished. And similarly in the development, innovation can be there in different areas, including smart cities. Whether the existing city or a green city, whether you can develop it on smart basis. With its own connotations, that is of course the theme of most of the sessions in this conference. Third is strategies. What kind of different strategies can you follow in e-governance? And last is in the business model. Also you can public-private partnership models, co-development model, crowdsourcing models are possible here. And in governance, again, you can have less governance. Modi ji also said that best governance is that which is the least governance. So on those lines. And in the national level, we have created this huge map 6 years ago, 7 years ago now, where a number of these e-governance projects are, one also is devoted to urban areas, that is the municipalities. So they are in different stages, but those which are in green are already operational for quite some time and giving good results. And this is an example of a corporate office affairs department which is paperless since the last almost 7 to 8 years. It has gone paperless, and this is the project MCA 21, which is a good example of how you can make life easier for the companies. This is the passport project that I spoke of earlier, and both these projects, they are also very good examples, but I have been associated with design of these two projects myself. So I can authentically say that this has really made a transformation from waiting in the queue from 6 a.m. to going at the appointed slot and taking your passport. This is another initiative. This is the mobile seva. With the proliferation of mobiles, you can use it innovatively to provide services. Several millions of messages today go to the citizens from the government using this platform, mobile seva platform. So this is also made, a lot of commutation is avoided as a result of all these projects, and it reduces the burden on the urban infrastructure as such. Neethal is, one very good project which is trying to count as to how many citizens are you touching every day. So this is a project, a real-time 3-second latency project across the whole country. It accumulates all the transactions and shows. So this is, I don't know whether we have net connected here, or I really am trying my chance on this. It appears to be. So this is the, you can see the count there on the screen of the entire Kashmir to Kanyakumari. Whatever is happening is counted every 3 seconds. It changes. Paparagar, I don't know whether you had seen this earlier, this Neethal thing. So this is the about 2,300 services are accumulated every 3 seconds and updated on this. So just to show the magnitude of what can be done. Probably we have touched the tip of the iceberg through this project as such. So there is a lot of analysis on this. I would urge upon you to see this. It is up in the public domain. You can see anytime. Yeah. Then this is the latest Digital India that government is talking about, which is a number of 9 pillars it has, and then digital services, how do you develop the industry, and how do you provide enhance the access to the citizens. They are the different programs under this project. And here one word about the enterprise. As I said, the need to look at government or a metropolitan government also as a enterprise here and see what happens here. We are experimenting with this. Here it is a holistic approach across the whole, whether it is property tax, whether it is registration of birth and death, whether it is sanitation, management of solid waste and water management, etc., etc. You can club all things and take a global view and deploy this. This is what we have done in Andhra Pradesh, where this is a snapshot of the overarching picture that we have got, that all the government would follow the principles set by this architecture, and there will be convergence, there will be boundaryless flow of information across all the government departments. This is all available on our website. Those who are interested, detailed documentation is available on this, and we are going to work on this. Is our vision for the next 2 years. This will be a reality. All the components of this. Part of this you are already aware through news. E-Cabinet we have already released. E-Office is on the verge of being released. Core dashboard has been released on the 29th, which gives a synoptic view of entire key parameters of the governance on an iPad or on a mobile. So this is how we are going to have a long-term view about e-governance and not nibble it at small pieces. is a big thrust we are going to give to e-governance in Andhra Pradesh in the next 2 to 3 years. Then critical success factors is leadership, the holistic approach that I mentioned earlier, process reforms, capacity building, change the people's minds, not only within the government, but those, the users of the various government programs, sustainability and partnerships, speedy procedures so that projects don't get bogged down and die the natural death. Lastly, this is the value of leadership. You may have excellent other stuff, but all this adds up to zero unless you have a leader in front, which is adding tremendous value to what we do here in this space of e-governance. So, with these few words, I would like to thank all of you for your attention, and I will now request Alfonso, would you go first with your intervention? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity of being here. I think I'm going to go to another extreme of what you presented. Okay. And I'm going to give a very brief introduction about the context and then what we do. What we're doing is we're doing for UN Habitat a consultancy for digital civics. We believe that cities are an assemblage of three things. To put it in a very simple way, cities are people, stones, and rules. You can't be simpler than that. What does it mean? It means citizenship, it means a built environment, those are the stones, and it means government, which is the rules. If you want to go the Saskia Sassen way, you can say it's territory, authority, and rights. That's what cities are all about. Now, sustainable cities add more things. Not only the wish for an equitable, fair, viable, and livable city, but it adds governance as the interrelation between people and rules. It adds jurisdiction as the intersection between authority and the stones. And it adds urbanization as the action of people actually building the city. Smart cities, which now is a very important movement, okay. To me, again, I like to put things in a very simple way. My father was a village doctor, so I act like a village doctor that gives very simple recipes, okay. To me, smart cities basically are integrating something that was done before, or trying to integrate something that was done before in terms of culture, in terms of the economy, in terms of the space. And they do only add a new thing. They add ICT. ICT now, mainly it's given conscience to stones. Okay? Sounds like a paradox, but it adds conscience to stone. If you put a lot of sensors, you'll make the water systems more conscious of themselves. We might get to the point where we could have a psychiatric intervention of a water pipe, but that is down the end, okay? What can it add to rules? To rules, as we already heard, it can add efficacy. But to me, the most important thing it can add is voice to the people, okay? Because people are the real drivers of city. So we should put people first. You have said it before several times. And we should foster, the first thing we should foster, before conscience to stones, is social cohesion, okay? And we can do that through a comprehensive participatory planning. So of the three parts, people, stones, and rules, I bet on the first, people. That's my preference. Of course, there are several preferences, and no preference are welcome. People connect, people relate, and people act. And it is this network of interactions. Manuel Castells puts it very beautiful in the terms of space of flows and space of places. Places are physical in the territory. Flows are information relations in the virtual world. So if we talk about people, we should take special care about the spaces of interfaces. How we interface with each other, how we interface with the territory, how we interface with the rules. And some of the things you put on top of your graph was the citizen interface. Okay. It is the synapses. The synapses of a city are us. We're not only neurons, but we have our synapses at the same way. Okay. How do we do this? How do we work in this space of interfaces? Well, we think that we can organize actors, communities, norms, the work we do, use tools for specific goals. And we can have social cohesion, transparency, and planning, and use ICT as it is. It is a vehicle. But if we don't have the roads, and if we don't know where we want to go, the vehicle can be parked, if you find a place and you're lucky, anywhere you can. So Digital Civics is an initiative to support effective citizenship and governance. And we do it through 3 elements: platforms of knowledge, ecosystems of interaction, and interfaces of governance. Through these 3 elements, which I'll explain further ahead, we want to make people aware, in the first case. We want to help people make decisions. We want to support people to have tactical influences. And we really, in the end, we want to open up new social paths for change. What are platforms of knowledge? Platforms of knowledge is a way to structure a field of expertise so that open collaboration can happen. For instance, UN Habitat has as the new agenda for this century, says that cities should be compact, integrated, inclusive, and connected. And they happen to have a field of knowledge which is called the Global Urban Observatory. So a platform of knowledge, what it does is it gets the data that these fields have. It orders the data and it provides analytics. Analytics like the City Prosperity Index, which can operate the analytics on the data, and then it adds visualization to understand. We humans tend not to give too much importance to our eyes, but we do see much more than we believe. So to visualize something gives you an intuitive, fast, and rapid understanding of patterns. So data, analytics, visualization, and collaboration, that can really structure the field of knowledge. And structure it not for an abstract purpose, but structure it so that it can be open. There can be open data, open analytics, open visualization, and most important of all, open collaboration tools. Once you have that, then you can build ecosystems of interaction where citizens can be engaged in collective actions. We've done 2 examples. One, we call it, for UN Habitat, we called it City Changer Labs, where youth solve urban issues with mobile technology. And the other one is called Block by Block, where children create public spaces. A variation of this labs was done with your support. Yesterday was the last phase of the Urban Hackathon here. It was a great process. 390 local teams of youth registered for the Urban Hackathon. They presented about 200 initiatives. Of those 200, 70-something were selected, and 2 weekends ago, they gathered ISB for a weekend. They created new solutions. 20 were selected as pre-winners. And yesterday, we worked with them here in the Congress for the whole day until 5 + 1 became the real winners. And GHMC, ISB, and all of you are going to support that these initiatives become something else. Okay? So an ecosystem of interaction creates enabling environment. You provided an enabling environment. The stakeholders were called for participation through internet. They came. And we gave them toolkits. We gave them mentors. We gave them opportunities. We gave them access to libraries. And most of all, we gave them a common goal: social innovation with digital technology and precise challenge. When you have that, platforms of knowledge, when you have interfaces, when you have ecosystems of interaction, you might get to the third level, which is interfaces of governance. And you can orchestrate or begin to orchestrate flows of interaction. Okay? You can start having results that can be used by the citizens within a field of knowledge through the results of the ecosystems of interaction. City Changer Labs or the Urban Hackathon can be fun, can be noisy. They have a great dynamic, okay? Because youth come and want to do the best they can. So you really have a very, very strong, emotional, dynamic, creative space. We've done plenty, okay, with plenty of apps. We've done it with different challenges: youth and governance, public space, financial inclusion, technology for good, social innovation, resilience, urban resilience, and we created a lot. Well, we helped them create, because they are the real creators, of plenty of tools. I want to show another example of an ecosystem of interaction we're just beginning to work with, and which had great results. For the labs, youth from 18 to 30 years, 35 if they look younger, okay? But now, for this one, is for kids. Block by block is for kids from 5 to 15 years old. We had this event at our main square. The square of Mexico City is a national square. It has importance for the whole country. So, as part of Aldea Digital, which is a social inclusion, a digital social inclusion, we posted a call for action, and we had 7,500 kids that came to play. That was the enabling environment. What were the tools we give to the kids? We said, you like Minecraft? Have you played with Minecraft? No. Okay, go to that side and learn how to play it. Do you really play well Minecraft? Yes. Okay, you have a challenge. You have a real plaza, a real square of Mexico City, something like your Charminar, okay? And it was built by a special group of designers. It was built in Minecraft. So rather than giving them a virtual world to play with, we gave them a real world to play with. And we gave them a very clear challenge. We say, just make it more sociable, more safe, and more playful. I wrote that, a sheet, and they would say, yes, Alfonso, give me the sheet. I just want to go to the computer and play. And this is the kids playing, and this is real time. It's not fast motion. This is real time. This is how fast they build, okay? And we got 4 winners who did, among 430 projects, 430 kids did a complete project. 1,400 gave ideas, okay? So we went to the city, which already had the program with us because they selected the square. And we said, how much would you say a preliminary urban design project cost with a digital model? I said, let's say $10,000. Okay. Well, the kids, 400 times 10,000. The kids of Mexico City have donated to the city $4 million. The mayor came. At that moment, the mayor said, oh, okay, this is interesting. Now we're having participation. So you can see the ages, barely the size of the table on the upper left hand, okay. And so there were 7,500, and those the proposals and the projects. And you got some of the photos. Totally involved and utterly delighted that they had the chance for the first time in their life to make a proposal for their own city. Okay. So what does Digital Civic do? It recognizes that people connect, relate, and act. That people are human actors within a shared context. And through platforms of knowledge, ecosystems of interactions, and interfaces of governance, you can make them play a role in their own education, in the advocacy of building cities, in policy making, in creating standards, in doing projects, and in providing assistance. So these three levels of digital civics can be used as building blocks. And coming back to my three first components, people, stone, and rules, you start to look at the interfaces between these three. And we hope we are starting to create building blocks, little Legos, little Minecraft cubes, where knowledge, interface, and governance come together so that we can, in the end, have not only digital civics, but open civics. So if we put people first, if we foster social cohesion, if we provide means for comprehensive participatory planning, we might get to social inclusion first, technological innovation, and finally, urban intelligence. Thank you.
Thank you also for an excellent, a different view of, looking at things, and thank you very much. And I would now request Mr. Subhash Bhatnagar to share his thoughts.
Thanks. I don't know where I'm placed. Satyanarayana and the previous speaker were at two ends supposedly. I think I'm sandwiched somewhere in between. I'm going to really speak about, I've been engaged with some assessment of what ICT use in various e-government projects has done for the people. Amongst the projects that we studied, there were also some municipalities, municipal corporations. So I'm going to share a little data and give you a sense of where have we come so far, having started about 15 years back. Obviously, we know that the task of a ULB, a municipality, a corporation, is very complex. JS talked about enterprise architecture. I think a municipal corporation is much bigger than any enterprise that you can conceive of in terms of the complexity of variety of activities that they do and the number of lives that they touch. And the importance of what municipal corporation does to our day-to-day well-being and happiness is extreme. So there is no question that ICTs need to be deployed with a lot of thought. In my presentation, I will also focus a little bit on poor, because when we talk about citizens and we talk about user centricity, citizen centricity, I think we need to recognize that citizen, user, there is not a one homogeneous mass. There are different people. For a driver's license, a rickshaw driver and a Mercedes owner are entirely two different kinds of people who are seeking drivers. In urban cities, there are youth, as we talked, how do you engage youth? There are people like us who don't want to be engaged, who probably don't know who their cooperator is. We can manage our own ways. And there are the poor people, and I want to talk about what's happening to the poor people. Because we talk about cities for all in this conference, and that all includes the poor people that are very necessary to the well-being of most of us. If they did not exist, if the slum did not exist, our lives will be quite miserable. However, there seem to be some people that we want to tolerate but not really encourage. And municipal corporations actually need to have an objective of allowing such people also to prosper, look at their well-being. So I want to talk about some concrete examples of how that can be done. Current status, having assessed municipalities both through surveys of large number of people who had used computerized municipalities, and also having talked to, at least in Ahmedabad, and done surveys in Patna and Delhi, in terms of a small segment of people, micro enterprises, the hawkers, the small shops, the electricians, as to how they are served by municipalities, the kind of assessment that one comes to, I would like to share with you. As I said, these projects started 15 years back, and the glass is always half full. There have definitely been advantages, positive gains, but have we exploited the technology to its maximum potential? That's the question I want to ask today. I feel that our first generation of e-municipal affairs were constrained by huge backlog of manual data lying in thousands and thousands of registers. So the first task of digitizing data itself was formidable. Perhaps we did not have time or the energy to think beyond and reform basic processes. Good. We've at least digitized, we have begun. But I think in the next phase, we need to do far more in terms of changing processes. So one of my assessment points is that by and large, what we have as computerized processes in municipal corporations is really mimicking what was done in a manual way. The application will come in, supporting documents will come in, somebody will verify them, somebody will collect the fees, at some point of time they will be returned, a certificate will be returned. JS pointed out how these things could be done. That why did somebody need to have a paper-based documentation to apply for some other service? Why do you need, but similarly, why does a land record copy is required by a bank? Why should the farmer go and collect a copy, carry it to a bank for a farm loan? Why can't the bank access directly a registry of this data which is already in a computerized form? Most of the banks are computerized. Why this action, so many trips, so much effort by poor people? So I think we need to think about a new generation of e-service delivery as compared to what we've done so far. So as I said, by and large, only marginal re-engineering. I come from Ahmedabad. The municipal corporation has been computerized for 10 years. But the thought was always there were 22 ward offices, so let's have 22 computerized centers. We still expect people to come to these offices, make trips, and recently a colleague who knew I was coming here said, I made 4 trips to collect death certificate for my mother. Now this is the status after 12 years of computerization. Why does that happen? Because many times we don't even know, as literate people, as to what are the rules governing issue of a certificate. There's no clarity. Sometimes corporations, government agencies will publish some rules, not having designed them so that they are readable, understandable by common people, pulling it out of the old thing and publishing them. Does that end their responsibility? Their responsibility is not to publish. Their responsibility is to see that an average citizen understands them. That is what the responsibility is. Are there examples of that? You look at the US Tax Revenue Service. Go to their website. They realize that tax rules are probably complex, not easy to understand. So for each segment of a rule, they have a video in which somebody is trying to explain orally with examples, with pictures, as to what needs to be done. Now these are simple things, simple innovations. I haven't seen such an innovation here. Why can't we think about that? Why do we need to think that everybody must come to an office? In fact, in rural India, we've created 150,000 citizen service centers where people can go and access and apply for a service. We haven't done that in urban areas. The urban poor must go to that office. They don't have a licensed cyber cafe where they can go and do this service. In Andhra Pradesh, they have. This is the other tragedy, that we have some states which have done innovations and other states which are where they were, have not seen what other people have done. So What I'm arguing is that first stage is over, we've talked too much, it's now time for action and actual true reforms of these systems, which have really not taken place. We also need to use new technologies that Satyanarayana was mentioning. Many things are being, today mobiles are being used to send alerts, but mobiles can do more than just receiving alerts. You might be surprised that surveys have revealed that even the poorest of the poor in rural areas, 40% of those below poverty line or whatever name you call them by, there is at least one mobile phone in the family. And these mobiles are becoming increasingly more capable. If you look at your own domestic health and find out what kind of mobile they want to buy something which can connect to the internet. Why aren't we using these devices and why aren't we thinking ahead a little bit that these should be the channels through which urban, rural, poor, whatever, need to access their services. They don't need to make trip, they should not be required to make a trip to an office, particularly of whatever type of services that can be given across the counter. So we need to think about many reforms. We've done, as I said, through surveys, what good computerization has done. It has done some good, but I will show you. Limited impact on corruption. We haven't uttered the word corruption and bribery here, but we know that it is a reality. That poor service, opaque service delivery systems and rules lead to bribery, lead to harassment. And this harassment does not cost us because we can pay an agent and get our work done. Harassment and corruption hurts the poor the most. And so therefore we have to worry about how to remove that a little bit. And limited information sharing and engagement. And I want to give you specific, we talk about civic engagement, we talked about engagement with the youth. I think we need to concretize and act there. We've talked for a very long time about need to do these things. This is a chart, perhaps I don't know how well this is. This is Bombay Municipal Corporation, Kolkata Municipal Corporation and GHMC. And perhaps it's useful to report that when we compared the old manual system and the computerized municipal corporations, perhaps GHMC came out with the maximum advantage that people had got. And this is just one service, issuing new trade licenses and reviewing trade licenses. In issuing new trade licenses, all the corporations, there was little impact. We need to understand that just use of ICT will not produce the impact. What is the impact you want on people? You don't want them to come to make 4 trips for a death certificate. You don't want them to pay bribes. You don't want them to wait 2 hours in a queue. This is the advantage that citizens are looking for. This is the real cost to them. You need to reduce that cost. And we found that in new licenses, that cost was not reduced. In fact, sometimes it was increased. That people had to wait longer or maybe make more trips. Caveat that the study is 6-7 years old, maybe things have changed now. This was, these are somewhat old results. But in renewal of license, we find that, for example, in GHMC, 40% of all transactions involved a bribe. This might surprise people who run, but this is the reality because we've done 60 projects all over the country. Bribe paying, not just in municipal corporations, in other agencies, bribe paying varies from low of 10% to 90%. There are applications and agencies where 90% of all transactions, and millions of them happen over a year, actually are done with some bribe. So this is a very important fact which we need to. Why does bribe happen? It happens because you've given too much discretion to your frontline operators. They can delay a service, they can deny a service, they don't need to give a reason for rejection. An inspector of a driving school or a driving RTO inspector doesn't have to tell you why he has failed you. Doesn't have a standard chart which should decide. When I was seeking driving license in the US, after I was failed 2 times, I was always told, you don't look back. So an inspector's job is not simply to pass or fail. His job is to tell you and advise you how you can improve. These are no great innovations. This is not a rocket science. But yet when we computerize our systems, we don't do these things, although these are quite easy to do. On a handheld device, you can always have something which drops down what is the reason for rejection of an application. So we need to reform in many different ways. Okay, let me proceed. I'm going to take a few examples. Hawkers, for example, are a very necessary, almost evil for us. We need the hawkers because we need to buy things, but they also take space, they disorganize traffic. Now, how do you deal with this problem? It is mandatory for hawkers to register. But do you know, countrywide, including Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Delhi, only 5% of all hawkers are registered for municipal corporation. Doesn't that surprise you? There's a law in the country, 5% compliance. Why doesn't any municipal corporation bother as to why this number is so low? If you do not know who the hawkers are and where they are, can you plan anything about them? First thing is you need to capture that data. Why don't they go? We did surveys and they said, sir, whether we register or we don't register doesn't make a difference for harassment. So we need to change that. And for going and getting a registration, the system is complex. You have to go to one of those centers. You probably waste one day and without any benefit. Should the municipal corporation, if you talk about urban poverty, if you talk about the necessity of these people, be more proactive? Should they not see themselves as a government which is actually there to help the micro enterprises, to train them, to provide them inputs? Yeah? Faster. Okay, I'll end very quickly. Can't we incentivize the hawkers by some benefits that come their way when they register? If you do that, you will capture that data. Why can't we actually take a mobile device and register people and shops right where they are, capturing their spatial coordinates? Why do they have to come to a center, apply in a form, and then get this done? So there are many, many innovations that we need to think about. We talk about services to the poor. What is the biggest problem of services to the poor? Great imbalance. The amount of resources spent on posher areas of a city in terms of every civic service and on poorer areas is vastly different. How many municipal corporations actually share what is the per capita or per thousand population garbage collected, disposed? Why don't they share performance data? First step to engagement and motivating people is to share your performance data. I haven't seen, we talk about citizen charter, no agency ever shares what is their performance in citizen charter. We will give a certificate in 3 days, but what was last year, what was it actually? Was it 3 days, 4 days, 5 days? That's not good. So I mean, let's start small. Let's begin to do these things before we start talking about smart cities, big things. Okay? So I'm arguing that some sharing of data, a lot more sharing of data on performance has to be done. Handling complaints. Again, I think handling complaints, we made you need to handle complaints in a manner that complaints don't arise. First, improve your house so that we think that ICT should be used for good handling of complaints. My argument is, in the first place, you please do everything that the complaints don't arise. Of course, once they arise and there will be emergency complaints, you need to take action. There are structured ways and why don't, for example, in Kenya, it was very effective when they allowed people to upload photographs of poor civic amenities. The action was much quicker. Loading video. Why can't we do that? A lot of that will require, what Satyanarayana was talking about. First, we need to capture basic data. We want to issue birth certificates, but we don't want to capture what are the births. So, to get a birth certificate, you must produce several documents and then get a certificate. Why can't we capture the data at source? That was the fundamental re-engineering principles in our hospitals or wherever deliveries take place. First, and I'm not saying you can be comprehensive, but you have to begin to do that. So there are many things that you can do in existing systems, and these are the kinds of reforms that we have not done so far. Let's not talk about very smart cities right now. I think, half smart or little dumb cities will also do. So I'll end here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Subhash. Now I request Dr. V.K. Mohanty to make his intervention.
Thank you, Satyanarayana. I would take only 5 minutes. once Peter Drucker said, in US, if geology department does not work, physics department does not work, they create geophysics. Electronic governance, and now also we are talking of AM governance, e-governance. So they combine electronics and governance, mobile technology and governance. But if you look at both the terms, E is small, M is small, but G is large. And therefore the crux is, if electronic governance is going to be successful, I think the paradigm of governance is much more important than electronics, because I have seen even small tools, database tools, can also yield results. I would like to inform Satyanarayana, because he has been a pioneer in the electronic governance in Andhra Pradesh. He went to Delhi. I also went to Delhi for 7 years. After I came, when I saw as Chief Secretary, quite a number of tools which we had done, they have become defunct. For example, I remember we had an excellent call center which we did in Rangareddy district. The district collector was there, I had gone, and from Center for Good Governance. Quite a number of packages are defunct. So the question is how to improve the governance without process simplification, without process re-engineering. I don't think electronics is a solution to everything. I have seen in Hyderabad Municipal Corporation, for example, Satyanarayana was talking about enterprise-based solution. We did financial management with enterprise-based solution. I think Hyderabad is one of the first cities to do financial management using enterprise-based technology. But I would say that the success of that program, I think Somesh will certify whether it is doing well or not. The success of that program, I think quite a lot was done due to that young chartered accountant with whom we sat for hours and hours. So the question is how to develop a good domain. I personally feel India has done quite a lot about G2C, G2B, for example, MCA 21, G2B, G2C, our Andhra Pradesh, Me Seva, E-Seva. In fact, Satyanarayana, when I came here, the work which was started, that Me Seva and E-Seva, I think as CCL I found that only 42 services are there. I think we brought it to 175, now it is 300. But my fear is when we are getting new services, old services are going out. So therefore how to, and that is mainly because sometimes they are not user friendly and they are not officers friendly. Those packages which are not officer friendly, they are very easy to be killed. So that is one observation. Now coming to, I think we have not done quite a bit on G2G. For example, no state government, for example, I saw when the Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, they were divided. 14.5 lakh employees, database is not available. So, but because of the compulsion, I think because electronic tools are available, Center for Good Governance did a small tool. Lot of inputs were given by P.V. Ramesh, Ramakrishna and other people. So the 14.5 lakh database was there. Say for example, human resource management is not available. Many departments, for example, municipality, Center for Good Governance has done a small accrual-based accounting simple tool. It is not an enterprise-based tool, but that is good enough for the small municipalities. But still, when I looked into the financial management, asset management is yet to be done, revenue management is yet to be done, expenditure management is yet to be done, but accounting package has been done. But when you talk of enterprise solution, we need to do revenue management, expenditure management, asset management, procurement, everything together. So that kind of thing is not there. I would only list out certain things because Satyanarayana is the IT advisor, e-governance for the state of Andhra Pradesh. We don't have inward-outward File management, e-office developed by Government of India is fairly bad, is very unfriendly. E-office, file management, grievances management, court cases management, human resource management, financial management, performance management. When you go to finance, budgeting, accounting, asset management, revenue mobilization, expenditure management, again you go to revenue, proper tax, professional tax, admin tax. My point is, we don't have prototype models. For example, if you do a model for property tax, same thing is applicable to advertisement tax. But that kind of things are not there. In G2C, even municipality, the certificates, permits, service connections, repairs, for example, public works tracking. It is a very important tool. But we don't have a public works tracking. Benefit management. We have done an e-pass tool which you have accepted for the Government of India, scholarships. But the same kind of tool can be done for multiple similar services. Hostels, schools, Anganwadis, hospitals. And another thing I saw, we had done a beautiful skills training model. But after some time it has become defunct. So therefore, the question is that we have to keep on engineering, re-engineering, and combining physics and geology, creating geophysics, e-governance, m-governance, em governance. I think that is a process. But most important for that is the governance, the process, and ultimately the change management mindset. Those kind of things must be given good. Because I personally feel electronics is not a big thing. A small tool can also do the result. The question is how you can use them to make good decisions. That is what matters. So therefore I think focus should be on the big G with E being small. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nitin. Now we have two more speakers to go. I will now request Alain to make his intervention.
The invitation. I'm very impressed to speak after you. So I will explain briefly. I'm an architect. So as architect, I have vision. I work with vision about what could be the future. And in fact, several years ago, I have the vision that as architect, my work was less to make building or to make city planning as to try to work with the people, with the citizen, and to help them to give their ideas and to try to find solution to take all these ideas to change the cities. So we have proposed this vision to the French government, and and in fact we have money from European Commission, and we have made a new company beside the architectural agency, a startup where we develop digital tool for collaborative urbanism. For us, we are something like 20 people. We think that collective intelligence could be the future of the cities. But how can you do that without new technology? So I will show you. Okay. So a little joke about the title of Metropolis. How can we go from city for all to city by all? This is a question we think a lot. So I was in your city, and it's very important for me to see how it is complex, how it's a real life. I love complexity. Complexity is the shape of living things. So this is very important for me to see one man or one woman alone, and to see all the people together. So how can we make them work together? As you know, the urban global issues are very important because we have to do with complexity, and the main problem is that the people in slums are always increasing. So our vision is collective intelligence. So our proposition is to have in the future 9 billion of urbanists. How can we do that? As you know, the world is really changing now. And what we know is that very small solution, a lot of small solution, can have a very big impact. So I will show you now our last project. Is still in the lab. It will be launched in 1 year. And we are now testing it in Hyderabad. So the idea is that you can propose to people to give their ID on the city. So for example, we were here in Hyderabad, and I think that perhaps Hyderabad, because of the weather, because of the nature, you could perhaps be the greenest tech city in the world. And if it could be the greenest tech city in the world, it could be perhaps the better quality of life of the tech city in the world. And if you have the quality of life and you have big company, you can be perhaps the place to be. And so, as you see with our new tool, you can very easily make a proposition about how you can change the city. And on this tool, you can have the proposition. You can see the proposition from everywhere, and you can take the proposition made by someone, and you can change it as you see. So the idea is that if government, if urban professionals want to make empowerment of the people, they have to build, in fact, the people with they can talk. Because most of the time, people are not very interested in changing the cities. But if you want to share with them, you have to give them the way to think about the future of the city. As soon as they begin to think, they begin to learn. And if you want to work with a lot of people, you have to be you have to make you have to be very accessible. So in France, we work with school, with a lot of things. So for example, you can, what I say, you can play with the change of the city. And so we are just here, and you can try our tool, and you can say what you think about this tool. And I will very quickly show you another tool we work with in Europe. For example, you see, this is what we give to citizens in the street, and the citizen, they can change the shape of the city, and they can give their ID very quickly, and so with that we can make data visualization, and so the government can see what really the people want, and they can give this information to architects, to urban professionals, and they can take better solution for the people. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Lynn, for a very interesting presentation. Now we have the last word on the city by the Commissioner Somesh Kumar. Request him to show us what all is happening on the east side of GHMC.
Thank you, sir, for this opportunity. GHMC, or Greater Municipal Corporation of Hyderabad, has taken a number of initiatives on the e-governance. One of the things I always find is daily I get a number of calls. Now it has reduced, where people will tell me that so and so person, I have rang him so many times, he does not lift the call. The street light is not working, or those kind of things they keep on telling. Therefore, it becomes very important that people should, all our employees, all our staff, should be accountable. People should know that this is the way the work happens, and people should be in a position to access it through the easiest means. And that is what we have been trying to do, using all the possible means. One of the important ones which we started quite some time back is the citizen service centers. The citizens should know that there is a center there, I can go there, I can pay my dues, I can give my applications, and that makes things very easy. The second one is a call center, which one people can call anytime and they can write their grievances or tell their grievances, and people can actually do whatever may be the penetration of internet, etc. What is very important even now is that most people are more comfortable with a telephone call rather than an internet. Similarly, we started using various different types of technology, and one of them is the off-site real-time information. I'll show about it very quickly. Then one of the services which our other speakers spoke is like birth and death certificate. How many times they have to run around to get it? So why it cannot be simplified? Anybody can get it in the way they want. Then one of the sources of our income is property tax. But if you see most corporations, still it is very far away from the kind of services that we should do. And for doing this, all this, a host of citizen services and the database is very, very important. If you look at what we offer, I am not going to read them, but electoral roll, property tax, sports facility, all the possible reassessment of property tax. Basically what we try to do is what are the things which people come to us, and why it cannot be simplified, why it cannot be through an electronic system. And because many people will not be able to do it electronically, so have locations where they can go in fixed time. They don't have to deal with the real person who is going to sign that file, but automate that process, and somebody takes it who is not the person who will again give that certificate or what. So that kind of approach has helped us in a big way in doing some of these things. So one is that a call center should be there, and it should be a very easy to remember number. So if you look at the call center number which we are now promoting is 27 times 1, which is very easy for anybody to remember, and we have tried to see that all the people who come to us as a complaint first should go there, and that is to be done. And what happens here in a very interesting manner is that immediately the message is sent to the concerned officer. Also an SMS goes to the citizen saying that this is the officer and this is his number who is going to attend. For every complaint there is a time frame as part of the citizen charter, and if it does not happen for some reason within that time frame, it escalates to the next officer. After it has been recorded by the officer that it has been done, there is a phone call by the call center to that individual who gave the complaint, and we find out whether it has been done properly or not. So anything that happens, we try to follow this procedure. And these are we also have the online grievance. If somebody is savvy with the computer, they can use it and send it to it. The other one is trying to use mobile technology, mobile phones, to see what is happening. And we have tried to use it for dumper bins, for attendance, for street lighting, for pinpoint programs, for parks, for town planning, for grievance management, and for works. It has brought a lot of transparency, and also it captures the time and the longitude GPS coordinates, so we know that whether the person has gone there or not So that has helped us to improve the quality of execution. You can see like here, how if the bins have not been actually cleaned, you get red, and if they have been cleaned in time, so different types of reports generated, and it helps us to see that the service level improves. Similarly, for attendance of different staff, the sweepers or the Safai Karamcharis, all of them is monitored through this system. Even for the town planning, whether the town planner went to the site, when he went, and taking a photograph which captures both time and the GPS coordinates, it helps us to know in our file that things are in order. Another one which has been, something very simple, but still it does not happen, which our professor from IM was also mentioning, that why people cannot get within time frame the birth and death certificate. We have been able to work out. It is not important. Many people think that it is important to make the system or the software. I think always more than the software, the backend is important. If we don't do it, nothing works. You may have a very fancy software, but if you don't have the data, what you will do? If the data is not regularly updated, what you will do? So unless you have a link with all the hospitals where you get the data, which gives the time and the birth of persons, or you have it, the burial ground is linked with you, how you will know who has died, or the hospital is linked with you. So all that becomes very important, and we are very happy to tell you that we have been more or less quite successful on this regard, though there is still room for improvement. The property tax collection is another area which we find has tremendous potential, and use of this system, which was also started by our earlier Chief Secretary, that self-assessment system, where the people are empowered, that they know that this is my area, this is the type of place I am living, this is the rate, and they themselves say my house is 1000 SFT and this is my property tax. The computer generates. We found that because of that, there was a significant jump in the property tax of GHMC in those days. Now we have tried to take it next level, and we have seen that it makes it easy. Now the bill collector also goes with a machine, and there he punches it there only, and the whole thing gets updated in the record. It is not that you issue a slip and then again come to office and again write. Those kind of things are not required, and the whole thing gets updated online. This is what, if you follow technology well, this is what can happen. If you see 2000 here in the 2013-14, our collection was 747 crores. In the year of election, with so much of other disturbances, we could make it almost 1023 crores. A huge jump, because we followed some basic principles, and that was use technology, approach the people, send the team, identify those big defaulters through your database who have not been paying, and focus on them. So we used human resources and we used technology, we used the database, and we could do what almost looked impossible. When I said that we'll collect 1000 crores this year, most people thought it was an impossible target. But despite of election and all the disturbance, everything, we could show that we can increase it from 747 to 1023 crores. Now what is the thing? Here I would like to, before I go into this, I would like to tell you one or two more things, because the professor mentioned it. I also very seriously think that discretion leads to corruption. So making transparent and accountable system with clear time frames is the answer. One of the experiments which we have done, and which has been very, very successful, is that we first simplify the system. If you look at the book on the rates of property tax, it is so thick, because every inch of the road has been told that here the rate is 5 rupees, and in that road it is 6 rupees, and in that road it is 7 rupees. And same was the case with trade license. I just worked on it with my colleagues and made only 9 rates. I said roads can be of 3 types: single lane, double lane, and more than that. So any building is on some road. It is on a single road, or it can be on double, or it can be on 4. So those are the three slabs. And there can be things which are commercial and there can be things which are non-commercial. So the entire thing, what is like a thick book like this, now becomes something which everybody can understand. Everybody knows that this is a double road, this is a single road. So this is, one of the most simple thing, but it took us, I don't know how many decades to learn this. And now the same principle I applied for trade license. Anybody can go online, open our site, fill the details, and he can just click a button, and he gets, if he makes the payment, he gets the trade license online. What we have done is we have posed our faith on the person, and it says it is a provisional one. If you don't follow any rule, after 3 months our fellow can go and quash it. But that makes so much of a difference, because it gives away all the scope which was there for discretion, and all that goes away. So that is the kind of simplification we need. And once we can do that, I think many things will improve. And the examples I am showing, that the increase, there will be significant increase in the revenues of any corporation. Last 1 or 2 slides, sir. What I am finding now is that these are on various modules. They are on different platforms. The challenge for us is now to bring it to a common integration, and therefore we are working with CGG. We have given the project to CGG, Center for Good Governance, to integrate it. System integrator is this. Second one is everything has to be enabled with GIS. Then only we can see what is happening, where it is happening, and it will give us a lot of data. Then we find that more and more citizen-centric services are required. The other one, I find that regular reports, if they are generated through the system, because people think that okay, it will be on a dashboard and people will see, municipal officers can't see. What happens for them is they are always running against time. What should have been done yesterday, they try to do today. So therefore, if you think that they will open their dashboard and understand, it does not happen. Make simple reports. Let it go as an email. In his office, somebody will take a printout and hand over, and that can make a difference. Many of the things which have happened in GHMC of late are because of this. So I thank all of you for giving me this opportunity. I also hope that we will be able to work with some of you on these issues, and maybe that will help us to develop further. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Samesh, for giving a first-hand account of what's happening in GHMC. And now we have had different perspectives, some perspectives by the real architects, the physical stone architects, as I can call, and some virtual architects like me and Subhash, and a practitioner like Samesh. So we will spend some time on the Q&A. You can either raise a question or give a point of view. Please identify yourself and then raise your point. Yes, ma'am.
This is just a suggestion or a question, you can take it either way. My name is Kavya and I'm an architect. I'm from Hyderabad itself.
Stone architect or virtual architect?
Practical architect. Could there be a common platform where a citizen could contribute to how the efficiency of the system could be? Elaborating on this, could there be a system where a citizen could easily click a picture on an app and it could directly go to the municipal, the body where he identifies himself, a certain area, a certain ward, simply on an app, and it goes very easy for more efficiency?
If you go to one of the Microsoft stalls here in the exhibition, you will find something called Citizen. So this is what we have developed along with Microsoft. What is happening, I am going on a road. I find some problem is there. Now if I have to use the call center and I make a call, I myself as a commissioner also don't know whose boundary it falls. So I cannot tell him that this is the place. So it creates some problem. What is very easy now is that if you are having a smartphone and you can, if you open your application and you just work, take the picture there. So immediately the app uploads it in our system of grievance monitoring. It has picked up the coordinates, it knows it falls in circle 12, it knows that so-and-so officer is there, all the background is there. And therefore, this is the small thing which, this is what it is known as a citizen. So it is already ready. We want to launch it, but I thought that maybe here if it is launched, most people will not see because too many activities are going on. So, but you can see it on the stall of Microsoft, and that is going to make things much easier for those who have a thing. So it gives you the count, how many people, what is their problem. So it is a very good suggestion, sir, and we have been working on it. And it has been the beta version is already on. Maybe in a couple of days, we had planned to launch it tomorrow, but I thought it will not catch the attention because so many activities are happening. So maybe in a couple of days we are going to launch it. And that, in this context, I would also like to bring it to your notice, sir, that Microsoft, before they got into this project, tried to look at the grievance redressal system of all the major cities of India. And they found that, unfortunately, other than Hyderabad, nobody has the back-end rate. Because here, sir, like the moment you tell that my bulb is not, the street light bulb is not there, and you give the location, immediately our back-end tells that so-and-so officer has to change the bulb. It also tells that a bulb has to be changed in 2 working days. So the entire system is there, and if it knows that the first A does not do it, it will go after 2 days, 3 days, it will go to T. So that whole mechanism is already ready, so it makes it very easy. Therefore, Microsoft did not go to other cities. They said that let us do with e-agency, because our backend is ready. Thank you, sir.
I'd like to add, to reinforce what you said, because it has been our experience in Mexico. Okay. The back end is the key. Okay. It's the G and it's the C2C that is important. The back end is what makes it or breaks it. Okay. From the first interface we did, now Telmex is launching it in 14 cities of Mexico. Even though they're a phone carrier, it has been extremely hard to make the municipalities and the sponsor understand the importance of the back end. So we have to learn from you.
Yes, please.
Sir, I am Dakshinamurthy, Senior Manager, Center for Good Governance. My question to J.S. Garu only. Sir, now you are the IT advisor to Andhra Pradesh state. With all the presentation that you made, I am given to understand that it is almost an ERP for the state. Now, my question is, at what cost it is going to be? Have you finalized the vendor? In how many years you will be completing it? And the second question is, what are your proposals to improve illiteracy of the citizen?
Responding very quickly, I call it EERP because government is an enterprise of enterprises, not merely an enterprise. But you can call it like, a mega ERP. Second, we have not yet let out, it's a framework and a set of guidelines, standards that will be put on the table for all the enterprises, that is, for all the departments and corporations to follow religiously the code that we put on the table through this architecture. So that we are all building, you have the big vision in front of you, and you are building, each one knows which brick to lay. Each department knows which service to deliver in which fashion. That is the meaning of, it's not as if the whole thing will be given on a platter or a tender to some X company to do. It's impossible. So the process of, you kindly have a look at our website where it is, even the process of going forward, further next steps are very clearly delineated there. We are going to select an enterprise architect who will detail it to the next level, and then it will be a parallel processing by several departments, but to the same protocols, so that at the end of 18 months, December 2016 is what we are looking at, the whole thing will be completed.
Sir, good evening, sir. I am Radhakishan Raju, Consultant Health from Center for Governance. My question is to Somesh Kumar, sir. Sir, this is regarding a porthole project, one UV rays software project, using instrument. Can we know, sir, a little bit throw a light of the project? Because I am a person on a social service basis. I am, along with my office work, I do social service basis work on an organization called Shramadan, sir, where we do fill potholes along with one person, Madam Gangadhar Tilak Garu, which Somesh Kumar sir also know. That's why I am asking about that UV rays project, sir, a little bit about that. Thank you, sir.
We have taken a challenge that after 90 days the city will not have any potholes. So we are working hard on that. So we have looked at various technology, and one of the technology is the UV ultraviolet this thing, where the existing, wherever there is a pothole, the road is heated through the machine, and then they mix some other additional material and try to level it at the same level. And it is done in a very scientific manner. So that is one machine we have already deployed. We are trying to deploy some more machines. And we also found that there are other technology which is now available. So we want to deploy because we spend a lot of money. But what is happening is the entire material which we use goes not so much for filling the potholes, but actually for making speed breakers, because that is a big craze in the city. So, though, yes sir, all the corporators, they want that they should have lot of speed breakers in each of these streets. So instead of, when I send lorry loads of BT material, it is not used for that. And also, the way our people use it now is not a proper technology. They just take it, by the time it reaches, the temperature is already, it becomes cold and all, and they don't do a proper consolidation, so it fails. So we are working on different models, and soon there are 2-3 other machines which we are going to deploy, which will ensure the city will be without these potholes. And anyway, Ramadan and other organizations who are interested, we are also taking their help. Thank you.
Take one last question after Subhash, please.
My comment was, in Ahmedabad, I thought when they fill the pothole, it is a natural speed breaker. They don't actually design it as one, it becomes a natural speed breaker.
Okay, we will take one last question or observation, please. Yeah.
Good evening, all of you. I am Shrikesh, Commissioner, Karimnagar Municipal Corporation. Sir, whenever we go for e-governance or anything related to technology, there are two things. One is affordability and one is acceptability. Be it employees or be it the Safai Karmacharis or be it the contractors, they will always have some resistance to this because it will make accountable all their services. So any thoughts on that? Because in Hyderabad there might be a situation, you might have some alternative, some other contractor, some other association might be able to work. But in Karimnagar, that solution is not available to me. I have some limited number of people and I have to make work with them only. So how do you, maybe acceptability of all these technology solutions? Any thoughts on this?
I want to give an example of Bangladesh where I went recently. There's an organization called A2I, which is their central organization doing one training program, and the most important training program that they conduct for their employees inside is actually titled Empathy for the User, where they collect the civil servants, actually make them go to different departments, not their own department, understand the pain points, define a solution for the first 2-3 days, and then they send them to their own department and say, now you try and look at the same. So I'm saying, that's the kind of exercise that you have to make people go through. When we do training, it's much more, how to run the keyboard, how to handle a software. This is extremely important, and it's actually titled Building Empathy for the User. That's the title of the article.
Alain to respond from his experience in France and other places on this change management issue.
Yes. The acceptability, how we work with that, we just look at what is going on in technology, with music and with all these kind of things. In France, the first cities, we are working now with something like 20 cities. The first cities, it was the director of the communication who said to the mayor, you should look at this, and you should do that. And in fact, the people from urbanism, from city planning, they were not so okay with our solution. But when we have done the 2 or 3 first cities, it was the people of city planning who say to other cities that this kind of tools, they are very surprising at the beginning, but what is good with these tools is that they build respect between all the different kind of part of the society. The people are respected because the government listens to their ideas. The architects are respected because people give their ideas and they say, please, you, the architect, try to do a very good things, good new building with our ideas, because it's our city. We love this city, so we give you our best idea. Do your best job. So everybody, and so it goes step by step, and it goes.
Okay. Thank you, Alain. I think I would like to conclude this session now. That it has been very interesting, and especially the key takeaways will be that make it simple and intuitive is one lesson we are getting, that it will be a great hit. Re-engineer, including the back end, you change it. That's very important for sustainability of the exercise. Then innovate, think out of the box, create, as it virtual kind of a situation, like we have seen from Alain's presentation. And also, changing the mindset is very, very important. At the end of the day, changing the mindset of the people, that there could be different approaches to that. How do you change? The same solution may not work out with all the people and in all the cities. So how do you tailor-make a change management plan so that your ideas really get translated into reality? So this is kind of top takeaways from this session. I thank all the panelists for their excellent presentations and also responses to the observations from the audience. And I thank the organizations for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
On behalf of GHMC, Metropolis and Center for Good Governance, I would like to thank Shri J. Satyanarayana for moderating our session and sharing the models and frameworks. And I would like to thank Shri Somesh Kumar for sharing the ideas which are actually being implemented in GSMC and can act as a role model for similar institutions. I would especially thank Shri Dr. Mohanty for taking out his time at the last moment and telling us the difference between big G and small e. And I would thank Professor Bhatnagar for sharing his research-based critical inputs. And I would thank Mr. Govela for sharing the concept of digital civics. It really added into knowledge bank. Thanks Alain for sharing, thanks Mr. Alain for sharing your innovative tool. So at last I would request Mr. Shabir Sheikh to offer a token of appreciation to our honorable speaker. Thank you. Thank you very much.